Our guest today is Andy Busuttil, who is the founder and frontman of Skorba. So thank you so much, Andy, for welcoming us in your studios, Blue Mountain Sound Studios.
It's a real pleasure, Marlene. Always a delight to be with you and to talk to you about Malta and about anything to do with Malta.
With Malta, that's right. Now, I mentioned the band Skorba, and Skorba is well known for the first album, The Temples. Tell us more about that project.
Well, the Temple project initially started off because I sort of came across the temples in my reading about Maltese history, and I was so impressed with them that I wanted to represent them more, not only to the Australian community here, but also to the Maltese community living in Australia, because it came to my attention that a lot of people from Malta didn't know about this wonderful part of our history. So the Temple project came about. We ran quite a lot of concerts in major festivals here in Australia, as well as smaller concerts in various community settings, and it was a great success.
But you never performed in Malta.
No, look, I was dying.
And I know it's a dream of yours.
Absolutely dying to. I went to Malta in September last year, and I went to the Temple of Hajat Im, in fact, and. While I was sitting there in the theatre, the theatre in Hajat Im, where they show video of the temple, and I could hear in my mind the song Hajat Im that we did on the Temple project, and I thought this would be so good in here, So my great ambition was to go and perform in the temples themselves, but it never came to be.
Tell us more about Skorba, how it came about. Who is Skorba?
Yeah, look, Skorba, I've been playing multicultural music here in Australia now since the mid-1980s, or early 1980s in fact, and I was always playing music that was sourced from Turkey and Bulgaria, Macedonia, Greece, Iran, and the Middle East. And after a number of years of playing this, I kept feeling that there was something not quite right in what I was doing. I just wanted to honour my cultural history more. So I thought, okay, well look, I'm going to form a band, and I started to think about what sort of music would the band play, because our Maltese traditions have been largely lost except for Ana, which is really one of the few things that we've held on to. So I started to think about historical themes in our island's history, and the temples were one of those historical themes. The second historical theme, of course, is l'Assedio, the Great Siege of Malta in 1565.
Which we'll be talking about.
That's the next one. But the temples, I mean, how could you not look at these things and not want the Maltese government to preserve them? And at that stage, they weren't doing this. So I thought, look, they need to be brought more into the public eye. So Skorba came about, and I thought the first project has to be about our ancient history, which is such a secret. But it's such a magnificent history. I mean, I went to Gantia temples when I was in Gozo in September last year. And
the oldest freestanding structure in the world.
In the world, yeah. But not only freestanding, but roofed. Mm-hmm. The temples were roofed using a process of stone corbelling, which was the overlapping of stones towards the centre. And they are the oldest known structures in the world that had this process of roofing. Yeah. And standing in Gantia, you could, oh my God, it was a hot, quiet day, and standing in one of those semicircular apses, you could feel this sense of wow,
Now, you mentioned before quite a few countries where you have played their music. In fact, your background is very ethnic when it comes to music, and you also collaborate with other musicians in other bands. Tell us more about that.
Wow. Essentially, through being involved in the festivals here in Australia, I made a lot of connections with a lot of people, and also, you tend to form alliances with people as you go along. I've performed in a multitude of bands since I've been playing music. At the moment, I've got 5. There's a number of them that I'm very proud of. Skorba, ultimately proud of.
That's your baby.
Yep. A second band called Asylum, which is to raise awareness of asylum seekers. But the third band, which I'm very proud of, consists of myself. I'm Catholic by birth, of course. My friend Yimit Jehan in Toulouse, France, who's Muslim by birth. And my other friend Itay Shaked, who's Jewish and living in Tel Aviv. And so we're recording our third album at the moment over the internet. We've never played together as a band, as a trio. 2 of us have met on separate occasions. But we produced actually our third CD. It's just in the process of being mixed and mastered now. So that's one I'm very proud of as well. So
before we mention the project that you are currently working on, The Siege, tell us more about that, and when do you think you'll be launching that project?
Look, the Siege is a magnificent story. It's a story that reflects our current moment in history as well. It's ultimately a battle between Islam and Christianity, and particularly Islam and Catholicism. The story of the siege, as we tell it in our concert, is about two young boys who were growing up together on the coastline. One of them is stolen into slavery by the Corsairs because they were constantly raiding the islands of Malta. One of them is stolen into slavery, taken to the court of Suleiman, where he's raised as a janissary. The janissaries were the cream of the military Turkish crop. He comes back to Malta with the invading army, and he and his boyhood friend die in each other's arms in the final battle, and their mothers find them.
Oh, wow.
So that's the end of the story. And the last song is called The Aftermath, but the song before that is called Hlomt Bir, which is the mother holding the son in her arms when she finds him on the battlefield singing I Dreamt About Him. Oh. So it's about looking at conflict as not as being we won and we kicked their butt. You know, it's about the stupidity of it, the waste of it.
So you mentioned the song Hlomt Bir. So does this mean that the whole project is in Maltese? All the songs are in Maltese, or is there a combination of Maltese and English?
That's a great question. There's a combination of songs in Maltese, English and Turkish.
Oh, wow.
So I've had some help from a friend of mine, Nimit Ceyhan, on Turkish words, and I also depended on Maria Di Carlo a lot she used to teach at the Maltese Language School, and Maria gave me some expertise on some of the Maltese words, and some in English. So it's a good combination. But everything is explained through the concert, so everybody knows the context of each song.
How is it going to be launched? Is it just going to be a musical launch? Is it going to be a stage production? What's the plan?
Look, the Siege project is, I'm planning to launch it in the second half of this year, later in the year. We do have a concert already planned to run in the Blue Mountains in Wentworth Falls. It's going to be a small concert. But before I go anywhere with it, I want to launch it with some special Maltese guests in Sydney. That's going to include a lot of the people who have been terrific supports for Skorba.
Any plans of coming down to Melbourne or going around the country or going to Malta?
Yeah, well, absolutely all of those things. You know, I'd love to get to Malta. Around Australia, it's much more manageable. We can organise things here, but getting to Malta to perform is a lot harder. But you know, we'll be depending a lot on the support of the of somebody we can find in Malta to help us do it.